We're smooth 98.1 FM. Good morning, Rotus. Welcome to Business Express for the 18th day of September.
Yes, good morning, Omas. Good morning to all our, clients, listeners, viewers out there. Good to be with you all to start the week.
Okay, so for the clients and those who want to be listeners, we'll just be able to get into the conversation as we get along in the show. Just be able to send messages onto 0809-444-0981 WhatsApp messages at any time to responding to any of the issues on the menu for business. Rotus, let's begin with this appointment over the weekend where President announced a replacement for the suspended CBN governor, and it comes across as one Olayemi Cardoso to lead the CBN. And some persons might be asking, where did this come from? For those who missed it during that conference, when it was still, campaigning, where he spoke about, for example, a Cardoso can become leading the economy and all of those. Walk us through his pedigree.
Yeah, he has a pretty hefty pedigree as far as the financial sector is concerned. He led Citibank Nigeria as chair. He's had experience with Chase Bank, Citizens International Bank overseas. He began his career at Howard Tilly and Co. as a chartered accountant in London, before transitioning over to the banking industry. He then, back in 1999, he was appointed by Tinubu as the commissioner of Nigeria's first standalone Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. So he's had some, a lot of experience in the public sector. So he's over 30 years or so, if not longer. So he's got a lot of experience in public service and also in banking and finance. So he comes with a lot of experience, a lot of pedigree. And also his last name, Cardoso, his family is Brazilian returnees.
Yeah. Okay, around the campus area of the Lagos Island, for those who want to understand where the Brazilian connection, would you find it more, in Nigeria? You would have to go pay a visit to the Lagos Island around campus area to know more of that. But let's get into this next item. There's been this argument of we need an economist to manage the CBN. Are you for that argument that it's only an economist that can safely manage a CBN?
Well, it'd be nice to I'm biased towards that side. It'd be nice to have an economist there. But if you look at other leaders of central banks around the world, Jerome Powell in the United States, I think his background is education. He's not an economist. Neither is Christine Lagarde that runs the European Central Bank. I think at this point, what Nigeria needs is just steady hands, somebody who has the pedigree that, markets will listen to. And it's management, it's proper management is what we're looking for. So while he's not an economist, Mr. Cardoso he's a banker, he's been in this space for quite a long time. So he's got the qualifications to run the CBN.
Now, so it's understood that the exchange rate tops the challenge ahead of Cardoso when, if he's confirmed. Would he need to go to the National Assembly for confirmation, or he just starts running with this announcement?
Yeah, so it's a nomination. It's got to be confirmed. It's going to go through, because he's been nominated by the president and so on. So, yeah, it's going to go through the normal channels. But we expect that I think he also nominated about 4, deputy governors of the CBN as well. So they all have to go through that screening process, and then they take it away from there.
Now, speak to the exchange rate as one of the top that will be on the front burner for him to stabilize. And would like to understand that some say it is independence. What is your own assessment of it?
I think we need, the whole thing about an independent central bank. You need an independent central bank that can act on its own without influence from outside. That I think is priority number one. And then, yes, the foreign exchange situation, how it is going to be managed, transparency, That I think definitely is up there. But then, I mean, the central bank's job is price stability, right? There's also, of course, interest rates, getting a handle on inflation. That's also very much up there as well. So, I mean, your primary mandate is price stability. If you listen to Jerome Powell in the United States, every time he speaks, he talks about the labor markets, jobs, jobs, jobs. Even though that's not his mandate, but the whole discussion of price stability feeds into having a stable labor market and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, it's right up there. Independence, foreign exchange, or rather independence, price stability, and of course the foreign exchange feeds into that as well.
Some persons have wondered, in line with independence you talked about for the CBN, but some persons have said in the past that Nigeria CBN has meddled into areas where it shouldn't have. So if, let's say, you have the ears of Cardoso as he gets ready to take up this job to hold to bank the nation right now, what would you be saying to him, the pitfalls to avoid?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want to get distracted. There's also the debts, the central, because the debt management office, I think it was Thursday, where they updated us on the total debts, which is now about 87 trillion now. They included ways and means, which is the debts that the CBN has extended to the federal government. So, he's got to make sure he doesn't, increase that further, even though the legislature increased the cap on, that is allowed for borrowing, which has gone to 15% from 5%. That is the cap on the previous year's revenues that has been increased, meaning there's likely to be more borrowing from the CBN. But so I would, say for him to just, don't roil the markets, have a steady hand, address the backlog, address this foreign exchange backlog. I know you can't get the money, the dollars out of thin air, but also I think we also need more transparency into where we are with the reserves. We just want, there's been a lot of opaque stuff with the central bank where we don't really know what's happening. So it would be nice for him to, once he is confirmed, at maybe the next monetary policy committee meeting, he has a healthy press conference where he talks about where the CBN stands now. What is the matter? What is the current situation with our foreign exchange reserves? How much are they? How much are you owing to other entities outside? And then just come up with ways that can allow more foreign exchange flows to come into the country so that we can defend the currency. I mean, that still comes from the fiscal side. Yes. But that's where I would tell him to really focus on.
I just hope he's listening right now and gets running with some of these invaluable contributions you just sent across to him for free. You're not sending it
free,
at all.
No charge.
For free, no charge. But let's get the client to jump in on this one now, at this time on 0809-444-0981. Rotus, still a couple of matters to pick before we close up the show. But let's see Tayo waiting in the fringes already for this one. It says, the Tinubu administration, like its Friday appointment, they don't play with it. So it seemed like it's a tradition now. Just wait for Fridays. Big announcement comes up on Fridays most times.
Exactly.
Like in the past administration, you have to wait for Wednesday most times. Sometimes then it became Thursday. So this administration is a Friday kind of announcement thing. So it says, I like the approach to CBN leadership. A new set of governor, deputy governor, reduces the baggage from before with a clear out. And then I just hope the appointment is appropriate. That's what Tayo has to say about that. Yinka Bolu is typing for ages, but then let's pick up what he has dropped here for you, Rotus, quickly. Rotus, please add his father, Felix Bankole Cardoso, made history by becoming Nigeria's first indigenous accountant general in 1963. So it runs in the family, kind of optimistic considering what the president's crew did back in Lagos. Let's see them take it to the national scale. I did a rough calculation of revenue from the Blue Rail, and when all the lines come full stream, the Lagos state is looking at about 50 billion naira annually. Now, that's how to run a state. By the way, all the former deputy CBN governor should be arrested. That's what Yinka Bulu, the spine eye tree, and after all of those lengthy messages he sent. So I'll return in a bit to pick up what's left, but just get them coming on to 0809-444-0981 WhatsApp messages. Rotus, a couple of more messages to pick up now, some questions for you. How can the CBN really clear up the backlog, and knowing that it seemed like most of the appointments now, sensitive ones, the FIRS also got an appointment too recently too.
Indeed, yeah. So that's correct.
It looks like most of these persons have attended what you call the Tinubu School of Leadership or Economics.
Yes, indeed, they have. And so we're hoping, as Yinka said, we're hoping they can replicate it at the federal level. Yeah, the backlog is tough. Again, you can clear the backlog and by letting us know what the state of the FX reserves are. So if you tell us how much is in there, yes, and you tell us, at least give us a rough idea of, look, this is where we stand with the reserves, then we know that, okay, we can clear the backlog and based on what we have. So it's all about transparency. Nobody is expecting, the CBN doesn't print dollars. Nigeria has to sell more oil, maybe sell some assets and things like that to bring FX. So we know we have a rough idea of what the situation is. We just want transparency, honesty to let us know where things are, and then we'll take it from there.
Now, final one for you, Rotus, before we close the show. Moving on to other matters, Nigeria has a delegation in New York this week for the United Nations General Assembly. Kenya's President Ruto is in Chicago and San Francisco this week, seeking investment for Kenya's tech sector. Now, talk to us about Africa's scramble for dollars, FX.
Yeah. It's a big scramble. Yeah, if you are in Nigeria and you're looking to talk to investors, you have to know that Kenya is also there as well, talking about their economy. There's a lot of competition for capital. There's a lot of competition for investment. So I know we have a roadshow, investment roadshow this week. The NGX leadership of the NGX is going along with President Tinubu. I think he's going to ring the bell on the NASDAQ on Wednesday. So there's a lot going on. The thing is, you just have to make sure it's, you have to put your best foot forward. You have to sell your markets, and we have to hope that they come back with some great deals. But there's a lot of competition out there because everybody's in New York this week for the United Nations General Assembly, and New York, as we know, is the financial capital of the world. So I wish them luck. I hope that they utilize their time there very well.
Would you recommend they still stick with that template they use for Delhi, with that performance they pulled in Delhi?
Right. I would definitely, repeat that template, because you're talking to a bigger market now in the United States than you are for India. So lots of, big players, the Teslas, the Walmarts, all these big companies that are there. So it would be nice to replicate that.
Awesome. So let's get this final messaging from Babatunde Alao. If no one is already typing now, Tayo, don't even type at this moment, or Yinka Bolu, stay away. Now, Babatunde comes up with this one. Also, a client here says, all the new CBN governors need is openness and sincerity. That's free for. That's what Babatunde Alao just has to say.
That's it. That's it.
You see,
I agree.
So Rotus, Yinka Bulu, as usual, it would type last minute, but then he couldn't do this one. So Yinka Bulu, I just hope he's been able to do that project and report he's been talking about, not dragging you and I into it once again. But
exactly.
Rotus, it's a wrap on the show this morning.
Omas, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody for their messages. Catch you guys tomorrow.
Have a great day. And it's a wrap on Business Express with Rotus Oddiri. We'll be back here tomorrow. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning.